had, issues with Italian ryegrass, but not to the level as other states. Our neighboring states, such as Mississippi and Arkansas, seem to be fighting a more extended battle than we have for a longer number of years. We really noticed an explosion in the population of Italian ryegrass in 2020. I know there's an acre around that you didn't see ryegrass either on the field edges, around ditches, on the medians of the highways driving down the roads. We had a tremendous explosion of population in 2020 and then again this year. So we're in a situation where we're slowly losing all our post-emergence options, and it include the ALS chemistries as well, our post-emergence options for controlling Italian ryegrass. Obviously, like everyone else, Italian ryegrass, when the soil temps get, below 70 or below there, temp 75, which can occur some years in October in Louisiana or into November, more than likely, with our hot conditions in the fall. That's when we start seeing our emergence of ryegrass. We'll normally get that emergence through, and around January, our producers will start making their clethodim applications to small ryegrass at that time, usually going with a pint of a 2-pound clethodim. Some will go with 10 ounces, depending on the size, and generally get good, adequate control. And all of a sudden, you think you've done a good job. You've taken care of all your ryegrass issues, and you've turned your attention to planting whatever crop you're going to plant. And lo and behold, around the end of March, you start looking around, and there's a tremendous population of ryegrass that is out there. Now, there's different thoughts on exactly what that population is, whether it is a different emergence timing of the same ryegrass, or if it's a different, ecotype, biotype, or is it just missed applications? Did the applications in January miss those? So we're dealing with those in the close to planting as well. Obviously, with that first flush in the fall, you can go ahead, if you get in there around Thanksgiving time and do some tillage, you can knock back that particular population. Obviously, if you do that in the spring, once the ryegrass has established itself, it's much less effective, and you're essentially just replanting the same stool of ryegrass out there. What our producers have found, and what we found in research, is that the most effective way that we can manage Italian ryegrass is through herbicide applications in the fall. Things like S-metolachlor, pyroxasulfone applied that time of year do a real good job of knocking back that first flush of Italian ryegrass, and you're not having to deal with it at all. Anything that comes up later, you can clean up with bromoxone applications in the spring. That's the most effective way that you can control it. Observations and some cover crop research conducted here at the Ag Center has shown that plots that have cereal rye as a cover crop tend to have less ryegrass populations than other cover crops. So we're starting to turn our attention and look to actual studies where we can combine those two, actually make applications of the residual herbicides after we plant our cover crops and before the ryegrass emerges. Therefore, you have both the residual herbicide and the cover crop to provide competition from the ryegrass. So we're going to see if those two ideas can marry together and provide us exactly what we need. Again, you're facing an environmental situation where you're going to need rainfall to bring up the cover crop, activate the herbicide, and hope that you beat the ryegrass out of the ground. But even in situations like that where you're not getting 90% control suppression, 80% control suppression, you're still knocking back a tremendous amount of the population out there. So I guess overall, it's been something that has been a light issue for us, but it's really been enhanced over these last 3 years that we've seen an explosion in the population, and pretty much everybody, all producers have an eye on it going forward from now on. We put the Anthem Flex out. It did a good job early on of keeping the ryegrass suppressed. In this particular trial, we also had Command in some of these plots, and Command did a fantastic job. Just looking at some of the data this morning, we carried these out 6 months after November application. So the last ratings were in April, probably April 11th, we made these ratings. And looking at today, the Command that we put out did a fantastic, all 3 rates of Command that we put out in the protocol did a fantastic job of knocking back the Italian ryegrass, much as 90% controlled, even that much longer after application. But through that first flush that you normally get, both products did a great job of holding it back, and I see that as something that we can incorporate, like I said, either by themselves or with the cereal rye cover crop that can do a good job of giving us a 1-2 punch of keeping those populations knocked back. The Anthem Flex would fit in with just about all the systems that we grow around here: cotton, corn, soybean, whereas the Command would fit in all those except obviously the corn rotation. It would not fit in. That would not be an option there as well. But on the other three would be a real good option and highly effective for us based on what we saw in this trial.